We have an expression in family law, particularly in California, that it takes two parties to make a marriage and one party to make a divorce. Essentially, California, being a no-fault state, means that if someone wants to get divorced, they're going to get divorced.
Right.
And there's really nothing you can do about it. But what I think every family law lawyer has a moral obligation to do when they speak to a prospective client or a new client is to inquire somewhat about the reasons for the divorce.
Okay.
Find out what's going on, what led to it, what led to the breakup or the breakdown of the marriage, and specifically query as to whether or not these people have gone through any type of counseling. Because you want to save as many marriages as you can if they can be saved. But you also don't want to put someone in a bad situation, in a dangerous situation. But by the same token, I think we all have an obligation to first take every reasonable effort without hurting someone's rights to see if we can first resolve the problems in the marriage before we dissolve the marriage.
Now, with that being said, Judge Mathews, by you sitting on the bench, what is the most important job of a parent, in your opinion?
The parent, of course, has the duty to support children and to provide them with food and shelter. But the point I wanted to make is that there is one job that the parent has to do that no one else will do, and that is to teach the child morals, values, and teach them right and wrong. Schools will not teach moral values, and churches do not have the time, the children long enough to teach them that. And so the parent has to start off, from age 0, teaching honesty, teaching keeping your word, teaching doing those things for yourself and not being a burden, but always being a help. All of the moral values is the sole duty of a parent. And the parent can't step back and say somebody else is going to do it. And all of this has to be done almost before they reach the age of 12.
Before the age of 12? Wow. I think that's really important. That's really deep. I like this next question for you. What is the definition of maturity?
Oh, okay. Well, my little Sunday school class, I'm on the second generation of young people in my church. Our church is 118 years old. Oldest.
What's the name of your church?
Second Baptist Church, the oldest black Baptist church in the city.
And who's the pastor?
Pastor is Dr. William S. Epps, is our pastor now. But it has a great value and has been a great church in this city down through the years. But I'm on my second generation of children, and we came up with the definition that maturity means that when you, at this point, are able to assess the consequences of your act and then act on it. Most of the people in jail, or most of the people who break into houses, what it is, they don't think they're going to get caught. They do it with the idea that they do it without thinking of the consequences. And most of the things you do in this world are done without looking at the end results and not acting on it. So, these are some of the things about maturity. There are a lot of other acts of maturity that you are able to plan ahead and then work the plan. I know when I first came in the first year, I was so-called social worker, and I found out that the welfare mothers, what it was is that they got their money the first of the month, but they couldn't make it last to the 15th or the 30th. But they didn't plan ahead. They spent all the money on the first day. And so we had to almost put food for each day for the children to eat. They were not able to plan. So all of that is a lack of maturity.
Oh my goodness. That's
an area that we haven't touched here.
And we've got 3 minutes.
I'm just going to throw it out.
Okay.
I don't know what answers we'll get. What about grandparents' rights?
No, it's actually a very interesting question, because the law is changing as we're speaking, particularly in this area. There was a trend within the last 10 years where we were establishing things such as grandparents' rights, and there were many code sections enacted by the legislature to deal with that. But there was a recent case about 2 years ago that wasn't a California case, it was actually a U.S. Supreme Court case that started talking about that these statutes essentially are invading upon the constitutional rights of the parents themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you'd asked me that question 3-4 years ago, I would have told you grandparents have a lot of rights under California law. But as we sit here, those rights are shrinking based upon Supreme Court decisions.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know what? We're going to be wrapping it up shortly, but I got to get this question in here. Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
What should someone look for when selecting an attorney?
Communication.
Okay.
My biggest criticism of attorneys in general is their failure to return phone calls.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it, frankly.
Even the judge is smiling.
Because these are your
Hard to reach
clients. Yeah, these are your clients. They're paying you to speak to them. Opposing counsels, even you gets paid to speak to. And you would think people would want to make phone calls. So what you really want is someone, number one, that you know is going to communicate with you, and number two, you have to have a level of trust,
Absolutely.
and that's really what you're looking for.
Even with those people who don't tell the truth?
Well, I'm really speaking from the client's point of view. not from the attorney's point of view.
Well, now we have 1 minute. You were right, Dr. George. This has been a fascinating show. We have with us the fabulous Mark P. Gross, attorney at law. He's with us this Saturday morning. He has a fabulous practice in Encino. Thank you so much for being with us. We have Judge Albert D. Mathews, retired. He's done some fabulous things in the community, still extremely active. And what's the name of your church again?
Second Baptist Church, Los Angeles.
Absolutely. And you could see him there every Sunday morning.
Right.
Yeah. Teaching Sunday school. You've done some excellent things in our community. Thank you so much for lifting us up. Dr. George.
I have a feeling I should be taking notes. Man, the information that came out here.
Well, we have to wrap this up, but Dr. George, for the year 2004, do you have it? What would be your weather report for
it'd
us?
be very simple. It's going to be exactly the same as it was back in 1987.
Okay.
Take that year and you have the same thing all over again.
Same thing. Sunshine is coming out. Thank you for joining us on The Answer of the Lips. Go forth in your destiny. Have a